Make sure everything is clean. As I was having tea with Catherine, Mike said that and left. What's with that attitude? It's fine. It's not fine. Catherine got angry at me for becoming too accustomed to Mike's attitude as if it were normal. And then she decided to help me clean. Your brother's room is filthy. Mike's room was a mess. We chatted as we cleaned up. Amidst that, Catherine reached for something. Oh, that's... I tried to stop Catherine from opening the drawer without permission. But before I could, I heard Catherine's surprised voice. What's this? What happened? No way. I was speechless when I saw the photo in Catherine's hand. A happy family photo and a completed divorce form. That's when I finally woke up. Catherine, will you help me? Of course. Gaining a strong ally, I began to prepare for battle. Starting with disposal, I thought as I rolled up my sleeves. My name is Emily. I'm a 35-year-old housewife. Although I've been married to Mike for 5 years, we don't have any children. Yet, we had a calm and kind marriage. Mike and I met through an arranged introduction by an acquaintance. We were both tired of passionate romances, having just broken up with our previous lovers. Mike and I shared similar values, but I didn't feel the excitement I had with past lovers. However, considering it was the right age for marriage, I decided this must be fate and chose to marry Mike. Mike had similar reasons for marrying me, so we never discussed it. Sharing the same values, we didn't face major issues in dividing household responsibilities and habits. I took care of the house, and Mike worked, each of us managing our duties well. While I heard many boast about their love marriages, I could always say from the bottom of my heart, I'm happy, as our marriage life went smoothly. However, that peaceful life was suddenly about to change. One day, Mike, who seldom drank, came home drunk at an unusual time. I greeted him at the entrance when he returned at 3 a.m. Welcome back, it's late, isn't it? It was supposed to be our usual exchange, but Mike was acting strange that day. Shut up. When to come back is my own business. Confused, I smelled the alcohol on Mike's breath as he began to use rough language. Basically, I married you to have someone do the housework. Don't get involved. You're just a housekeeper. That's... Hearing Mike's true feelings for the first time, I was utterly shocked. Even though our relationship hadn't gone through the process of romantic love, I still loved Mike, and I thought he loved me too. I wish I could marry a younger wife than you and bragged about her to everyone. That's terrible. Terrible? I'm the one who feels like saying that. With those words, Mike disdainfully went to his study, laid down on the makeshift bed, and began to snore. As I stood in the entranceway, I cried upon hearing Mike's words. My marriage life until now seemed like an illusion. It's going to get even harder from here on. However, the Mike that woke up the next morning was the usual Mike. Good morning. What time did I come back yesterday? I was made to drink a lot. Is something wrong? No. Good morning. I was confused by Mike speaking as if nothing had happened. Mike, concerned about me, spoke up again. What's with you today? You're acting strange. No, it's nothing. It can't be nothing. We're a couple, we should talk about anything. Well then, if you insist. Unable to hold back, I spoke of last night's events to Mike, who casually mentioned it. Mike's expression gradually faded. And the moment I finished, Mike's attitude changed completely. So, it's out then. That's awful. You probably decided to marry me based on my conditions, didn't you? I married you because our values aligned. Yeah. Whatever. Saying that, Mike cut off my words and slumped down into a chair. then began giving orders with a gesture of his chin. Food. Make it quick. Food. Who do you think you're living off? Work properly, housekeeper. I became frightened of Mike, whose attitude had completely changed. From then on, Mike started to treat me solely as a housekeeper. Hey, food. Mike stopped calling me by my name, and though I was initially sad, I gradually became numb. Hey, isn't the bath ready yet?
Ah.
It's ready. Then say so quicker, you're so slow. I'm sorry. Eventually, I began to use polite language with Mike, and he naturally accepted it as his due. After months of living like this, Mike spoke up during dinner one day. I'm going on a business trip for a month starting tomorrow. Get ready. A business trip? You got a problem with that? No, I understand. Mike's job is a public servant. Do they even have business trips? I wondered, but I didn't have the courage to ask Mike, who was grumbling about dinner in a foul mood. At night, while preparing for the trip, Mike went to sleep at his usual time. I wondered how things had come to this. I cried alone. Don't slack off on the housework. I won't. Without a word of "I'm leaving," Mike just said that and left. I replied and saw him off. The moment I was alone, I felt a sudden release of tension from my body. A month alone, huh? I was honestly happy to have a break from the tense life I had been living for so long. At the same time, the thought of continuing this life for years to come made me feel a bit down. Well, no use worrying about it. I have to enjoy this month anyway. I deliberately spoke out loud to lift my spirits. Then, using my own savings, I had meals with friends for the first time in a while. Read books at my leisure, and enjoyed my time alone. During this time, I thought a lot about the future and decided to take steps towards divorce. The first step was to find a job. However, Mike wouldn't be pleased with me working. After much consideration, I decided to try part-time data entry work that I could do from home. Since I had worked as an office worker before getting married, I had no problem using a computer. I gradually took on more tasks and increased my income. By the time I got used to this new lifestyle, Mike returned home after a month. Did you do the housework properly? Yes. I wonder about that. Even though it had been a while, Mike looked at me with an annoyed expression. Of course, there was no souvenir. I didn't even feel like complaining about it. Well, it's passable, I guess. Mike walked around the house and said that. I felt my emotions fading away again. As long as Mike is here, I am an emotionless robot. I thought to myself that I must divorce him. After that, Mike went on several long business trips. Each time, I had to pack and then unpack. The hotel where Mike stayed did the laundry. So it was a relief that there were almost no clothes to wash when he returned. However, I really disliked the smell that came from the laundry. I don't know how many times I choked on the sweet, sticky scent of fabric softener. But mentioning it to Mike would only make him angry. So, I always wore a mask when putting away the laundry. One day, my sister-in-law, Catherine, came to visit our house. Unlike me, Catherine is active, but since we're the same age, we've been on good terms since my marriage, calling each other by first names. I served Catherine the cake I baked and some tea and sat down with her. Then, Catherine took a bite and smiled. Emily's cake is always really delicious. Your brother is so lucky. Is that so? What's wrong? Something happened? No, it's nothing. I forced a smile, and Catherine looked at me suspiciously. I offered her more cake to change the subject. How about you, Catherine? Beau, listen to this, he left his socks lying around again. Isn't that cute? It's not cute. Catherine's he refers to her recently married husband. They were acquaintances from the neighborhood, and after pursuing Catherine for 10 years, her husband, who is 10 years younger, finally married her. Although Catherine initially treated her husband like a child, after being pursued for 10 years, she seems to have been completely won over. And despite complaining, they seem to be living happily together. I was very envious of my sister-in-law and her husband's relationship. Hey. Are you ready yet? Yes, I'm ready. You're really slow. I'm sorry. Mike seemed not to have noticed that Catherine was visiting. We don't talk much, so I hadn't informed him of her visit. It was inevitable, but Catherine was taken aback by Mike's attitude. Make sure everything is clean. As I was having tea with Catherine, Mike said that and left. What's with that attitude? It's okay. It's not okay. Catherine got angry at me for becoming too accustomed to Mike's attitude as if it were normal. And then she decided to help me clean. Your brother's room is filthy. Mike's room was a mess. We chatted as we cleaned up. Amidst that, Catherine reached for something. Oh, that's... I tried to stop Catherine from opening the drawer without permission. But before I could, I heard Catherine's surprised voice. What's this? What happened? No way. I was speechless when I saw the photo in Catherine's hand. A happy family photo and a completed divorce form. That's when I finally woke up. Catherine, will you help me? Of course. Gaining a strong ally, I began to prepare for battle. Starting with disposal, I thought as I rolled up my sleeves. Catherine and I packed Mike's belongings into garbage bags. Among them, we saved everything that could serve as evidence, including diaries, photos, and letters. In the photos, Mike always had the gentle smile he wore when we got married. I collected them expressionlessly while Catherine reacted to each one, getting outraged every time. Hey, let's go to the city office now. Yes, let's do that. Catherine suggested mischievously, and I also smiled cunningly. Make sure everything is clean. He said. Let's clean up this relationship as well. I packed my immediate belongings, discarded all of Mike's, and headed to the city office in Catherine's car. Then, I submitted the divorce papers and went to stay at Catherine's place. Emily. Sorry for intruding. Catherine's husband was initially very surprised. But after hearing the situation from Catherine, he became even angrier than her. For someone who has loved a person alone for over 10 years, what Mike did was utterly unforgivable. Emily, you can stay here as long as you need. I appreciate it, thank you. I expressed my gratitude to Catherine, and she, in turn, apologized to me. However, Catherine was not at fault at all. Far from it, she found the evidence and even offered me shelter. I was nothing but grateful to Catherine. Mike said he would be on a business trip for a week starting today. So, he won't notice that I've left the house until a week later. I'll never forgive him. He's going to regret this. That's the spirit. My husband and I will support you. Catherine. Thank you so much. Thanks to Catherine, I was filled with energy and motivation. That night, I slept soundly, and the next day, I started looking for a lawyer. At the same time, I was also looking for a place to live. And a friend of Catherine's offered me a room at a very affordable rate. Gratefully accepting the offer, I made the room my base and continued my search for a lawyer. The first, second, and then the third lawyer I met were all misses, and I was getting tired. However, with the fourth lawyer, I finally found someone fantastic. Let's work hard together. Yes. Thank you very much. The lawyer's name was Tom, a very refreshing man. At first, I was disappointed, thinking he might be another miss, but I was wrong. From verifying facts to making predictions. He managed everything efficiently and made all my requests possible. After discussing with Tom, we sent a certified letter to the other woman involved and left Mike's copy on the living room table. Mike called me 3 days later. "Hey. What's this supposed to mean?" As soon as I answered the phone, I heard Mike's angry voice. I calmly responded to his voice. "It's a certified letter, isn't it? So, why do I have to pay $30,000 in compensation? As it says." Whatever. You're impossible to talk to." Mike complained to me irritably and continued to lash out. "Hey, whose money did you use for this, huh?" "Mine, actually." "Huh? It's my money you're using, right?" "No, it's mine." While I did receive living expenses from Mike, in fact, my income had already become sufficient to cover the cost of living for one person. Therefore, the lawyer's fee and everything else were entirely covered with my own money, including my original savings. But no matter how much I explained, Mike refused to believe it. "Anyway, you're just a useless woman. Just keep quiet and do the housework, and I'll keep you supported. Come back immediately." So that's how little he thought of me. Anger welled up from the bottom of my heart. I unleashed all of it on Mike. "You're the one who can't live without me. I have my own income sufficient for a living. You are unnecessary in my life. You just listen when I'm talking." Just as Mike was about to retaliate, a doorbell rang on the other end of the phone. I smiled upon hearing it. "Look, someone has arrived." "Gee, who's that at this time, huh, Dad, Mom?" I almost laughed at the predictable turn of events, but managed to hold it back and spoke up. "Hello?" "Perfect timing. Emily, thank you for letting us know. We'll deal with this idiot son of ours properly." "Thank you very much." I thanked her and hung up the phone. My in-laws were both former teachers, strict with themselves and others. Mike had always said he was scared of his parents, but to me, they were very kind and good in-laws. Such in-laws would never forgive Mike's infidelity. A few hours later, Catherine received a message from her father-in-law that they had given Mike a thorough scolding and wanted to arrange a meeting to discuss everything. "We'll come with you, Catherine." "Thank you so much." I contacted my own parents and set a date for the meeting. My parents cried when they heard my story, making me feel somewhat guilty. "Mom, I'm sorry for all this." "What are you talking about? Your happiness is what matters most. Let's quickly sever this bad relationship." "Yeah, I might want to visit a fortune teller for cut ties. Maybe I should go too." I could hear my father panicking on the other end of the phone. I chuckled and played along with my mom's mischief. My parents had an arranged marriage, but they get along so well that everyone envies them. My positive view of arranged marriages was influenced by seeing my parents together. It would be unthinkable for such parents to ever divorce. "Mom, don't be too hard on Dad, okay? Please take care of the meeting." "Of course, your father is a crybaby. Leave the meeting to us." I could already hear my father's almost tearful voice over the phone, which painted a heartwarming scene in my mind. After some more casual conversation with my mom, I hung up the phone. On the day of the meeting, because there were so many of us, I arranged for the location to be at our house. On the day, Catherine, her husband, our in-laws, my parents, the lawyer, and I, a total of 8 people, gathered in front of the house. We were shocked when we entered. "What is this? It's filthy. Wow, it looks like my brother's room from the past." The in-laws were also speechless upon seeing the messy room. Mike was never good at tidying up, but he wasn't this bad before. According to Catherine, that was because Mike had been hiding his true nature. And later dumped all the responsibilities on me. Mike was sitting at the living room table, being blurry. As he noticed us, he started crying and tried to cling to me. His father stopped him, and Mike began to shout, "Emily, come back to me. Without you, I." Seeing Mike cry so pathetically, I felt nothing. Realizing I no longer loved him, I looked down at him with a smile. "What are you laughing at? Look, this mess is your fault. Where have you been, slacking off on the housework? We're divorced now, so I have no intention of doing housework for this house anymore." My words made Mike's eyes widen. Apparently, I hadn't yet told him that I had filed for divorce. I squatted down in front of Mike to tell him the truth. "You told me to make sure everything was clean. So, I cleaned everything. Your room and our marital status. Is that why all my stuff is gone?" Mike said that, utterly astonished. I smiled and nodded. Mike's face turned red with anger almost instantly. "Don't mess with me. Who do you think has been supporting you all this time? That would be you. I'm grateful for that. You repay kindness with betrayal." Well, I was compensating with housework, wasn't I? With every retort I made, Mike's anger seemed to verge on bursting his veins. Then Mike raised his hand as if to strike me. But it wasn't me who flew, it was Mike. Mike, holding his aching cheek, looked bewildered. The one glaring at him while puffing her breath was, surprisingly, his mother. "I knew you were a bit insensitive to people's feelings. But I never imagined it would be to this extent. What you've done is unforgivable. Mom." Tears welled up in the mother-in-law's eyes as she glared at Mike. Then, she turned to me and my parents and began to kneel. "I deeply apologize for my son's outrageous behavior and for hurting Emily. I am so sorry. Mother, please stop. You've done nothing wrong." My mother and I hurried to lift the mother-in-law up. She kept apologizing while crying. Watching his mother, Mike seemed to finally realize the gravity of his actions. Just as Mike began to speak, the doorbell chimed perfectly on cue. I greeted the visitors with a smile. "Welcome, thank you for coming. Sorry for being late." "No, you're just in time. Please excuse the mess, come in." I led the guests to the living room. Mike's eyes widened upon seeing them. "Yeah, Lily." "Mike." The woman named Lily awkwardly said Mike's name. "Apologies for the late introduction. My name is George. This is my wife, Lily. I'm Lily, sorry for this." Lily started to cry mid-sentence. She was just like in the photo with Mike. I smiled at her and prompted her to continue. "Let's start from how you both got acquainted." The beginning was at a class reunion. "So you were ex-lovers, and meeting again reignited old feelings, right? I'm so sorry. I didn't know he was married." I burst out laughing at her words. Lily looked completely frightened by my reaction. I decided to explain the reason for my laughter. "Here's a copy of the account I found." "This is your account, right? Why do you have this? You even showed your face. Didn't you want to be found? Or were you hoping your wife would see it?" I pointed to a specific line. "Wish his wife would see this." It updated, proving everything Lily just said was a lie. "You said cheated without knowing he was married, and lied again." But I would have been sued for compensation if I didn't. Of course. Lily's husband glared at her furiously. Amidst this, Tom began to speak. "Let's proceed. We've demanded compensation of $25,000 from Lily and $30,000 from Mike. You both agree with this, right? I'm also demanding $20,000 from each of you." At Tom's words, both Mike and Lily vehemently shook their heads. Then, Mike began to speak in a feeble voice. "How are we supposed to pay $95,000 between the two of us for child support? It's impossible in this era of declining birth rates. We should be kinder to those with children." "Right, it's the era of declining birth rates, you should be kinder to us children." Lily's attempt to piggyback on Mike's claim was met with a cold stare from her husband, known only to me and Tom, who were privy to the situation. "How can you say such blatantly false things? What do you mean?" Even now, Lily tried to hide the truth. The mother-in-law, having made her deduction, looked directly at Lily. "The child in the photo isn't Mike's, is it? Why would you say that?" "Of course, the child is Mike's." "Oh really, that's strange." "What's strange?" The mother-in-law chuckled, confusing Lily, who asked irritably for her to continue. Mike is infertile." "What?" "We informed Mike as well." "What do you mean?" "That's what I mean." Lily slumped down, overwhelmed by the revelation. It seemed Mike had completely forgotten this vital piece of information about himself. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I forgot." "How can you forget something so important?" Lily screamed in a shrill voice, then her husband intervened with a calm tone. "So, the child isn't Mike's. And not mine either. I was on a long business trip abroad, and when I returned, suddenly there was a child." Quite a horror story. Everyone was chilled by Lily's husband's story. The birth of the child clearly didn't align with his return. The child's father turned out to be a host. Moreover, Lily had a debt of about $30,000 to his club. "You investigated?" "How low?" "That's exactly what I'd say to you." Lily's husband remained calm against her hysterics. Mike was speechless, having never imagined there was another man involved. "My brother and that woman are the worst. What do you think you're doing to my dear sister-in-law? I'll never forgive you. Catherine." Mike, who had always doted on Catherine, was at a loss for words, being called the worst by her. Lily, on the other hand, was hostile. "It's none of your business. I'm her sister-in-law, so technically it's not my direct concern. But seeing my dear sister-in-law hurt fills me with rage. Whatever. You'll probably get cheated on too." At Lily's words, Catherine momentarily stumbled over her words. Then, standing beside her, Catherine's husband smiled warmly and spoke up. "Do you understand what my 10 years of feelings mean? I spent 10 years to marry my wife. Can you not lump my dear wife with women who change their hearts in a few years and easily spread their legs?" "But what do you mean?" Though he spoke in a calm and gentle tone, anger was clearly conveyed from Catherine's husband. Lily was flustered by this and unable to retort. Meanwhile, Tom laid documents on the table. These were the consent forms for the compensation to me and Lily's husband. Mike signed the document with a vacant look in his eyes. "You're not going to divorce me, are you?" "What?" "Of course, I am. Rest assured, we'll also pursue a paternity disavowal lawsuit. But that child is yours." "What are you talking about?" "We did a DNA test, didn't we?" Given an irrefutable smile by Lily's husband, Lily signed with a pale face. "Well, whether you two decide to marry or part ways after this is none of my concern. This house will be put up for sale next week. Mike, please make sure you leave by then." "Emily, wait, Emily." Ignoring Mike calling after me, I left the house I had grown accustomed to living in. Then, I returned to my new home and spent the night drinking delicious alcohol with Catherine and her husband. Later on, I heard from Lily's husband that Mike and Lily had broken up. After we left the house, it seems the two of them had a physical altercation. Lily divorced her husband. She returned to her parents' home but lost custody of the child and was sent to live and work in a workplace dominated by women, where her infidelity was exposed to everyone. She was being avoided by all. While I do feel slightly sorry for her, I'm praying that her job continues since she's paying the compensation every month. Lily's husband was a bit down, but being high ability, he remarried quickly to someone else. This time his wife will accompany abroad. Wish you happiness. That's all I said before we stopped contacting each other. After being disowned by his parents, Mike was also dismissed from his civil service job. The reason was simple: he cheated during work hours. Supposedly, he was working from home since the child's birth. But he was practically living at Lily's place every day, hardly doing any work. After graduating from university and having never worked outside of civil service, Mike found it hard to keep a job anywhere and is now working part-time in road construction. I know this because Tom, who was my lawyer, has been receiving sobbing phone calls from him. While Lily agreed to a payment plan for the compensation, knowing Mike was disowned, I insisted on a lump sum payment from him. Apparently, Mike naively got into debt somewhere sketchy, and the repayment amount is skyrocketing. So he begged to return the paid compensation and switch to a payment plan. Of course, Tom refused, and Mike is begrudgingly working day and night to repay his debts. My in-laws started living with Catherine and her husband. It seems Catherine's husband suggested it, and my in-laws were very happy about it. They bought a house for the four of them to live in, right next to mine, and are now cohabitating. I'm invited over for dinner about once a week, and I often go out with Catherine. While my in-laws initially felt guilty towards me, I love them dearly and have repeatedly assured them they've done nothing wrong, bringing us closer than ever. Especially with my mother-in-law, who shares my love for tea. We often go out for lunch together. Recently, Catherine and my mother-in-law jokingly fight over who gets to spend time with me, which has become a daily occurrence. By the way, I've recently remarried. My partner is Tom, who was my lawyer. After our case was resolved, we kept in touch and Tom asked me out. I was happy to accept his proposal, and we got married on our 3rd anniversary last month. It turns out I'm pregnant as well, and I'm expecting to become a mother next year. Coincidentally, Catherine is also pregnant. And I'm looking forward to being close as mothers-to-be. What's it going to be? A boy. What about you, Catherine? I'm having a girl. Maybe they'll marry each other in the future. Who knows? After our checkup, Catherine and I had this conversation on our way home from the gynecologist. At home, our anxious husbands were waiting for us. Catherine and I exchanged looks and laughed at the sight of our husbands. Surrounded by worried husbands and a trustworthy friend, I felt very happy. It moved. Really? Let me feel. It's not moving. Hey, what are you laughing at? Nothing. I hope this peaceful everyday life continues forever. With just 3 months left until delivery, I'm eagerly looking forward to meeting our child. Feeling both nervous and excited.